Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, and welcome to another Thursday night. Thursday night, where we talk about in review and we look at some of the news in the atmosphere, the news around. I think I'm a bit very. I need to change the color right here a bit. Yeah, a bit too. Yeah, got it. One, two, three. Yeah, I think that is much better. Um, Thank you for those joining me on Instagram, those on Facebook, and those who are on TikTok. And it's a great Thursday evening. Today was really awesome. Really out. I ventured in the park this morning, and it was awesome. Just really spending some time in nature, God's nature, what God has created, and that was really awesome. And and even after today, it's now 9:04 in the UK. Even after today, I went out and popped to the supermarket, and it was so lovely. I actually was sorry I didn't wear my shorts, and sorry there wasn't a beach around or so that one could actually spend some time at and to look at. uh, but nevertheless, still, thank you for joining. you know Over the past few days, and I would say Saturday, last week Saturday was very good on the talk and sip, because we were discussing the Norse airline. This is from Norwegian airline, and I had Delano Seavright from the strategic advisor within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Jamaica to look at some opportunities which exist for people to actually travel to Jamaica eventually, and whereby there's more opportunity which which actually exists, and people can actually somehow, you know, get to Jamaica, not just waiting around, but maybe there could be some level of competition. And he said a lot of things. He said a lot of things in regards to Airbnb. He said a lot of things in regards to how people can actually, you know, capitalize on ways how they can reach to Jamaica, and Jamaica is actually exciting. So that was good. And then let me see something. Are you ready? And then also, what was interesting also was that I was able to actually have this meeting with Mr. Joseph Patterson. Joseph Patterson is the uh, UIC president, United Independent Congress from Jamaica, and we had a good meeting in Westminster where I interviewed him, and that was really good. So that is going to come out very soon. But I did a quick one in Westminster, which was really good. We were walking College Green, and when there's any breaking news, and I asked him what was the breaking news, and he said the breaking news is that we don't want a fake republic. So that was the breaking news. Hey Gary, how are you doing?
Not bad, my friend. Not bad. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good in the Malibu. Can't complain. I
Good,
had
good.
a before I came on, I had a prayer meeting with a couple of my virgins. So in the morning it set the day, in the evening it set the stage. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. You certainly can't go when it comes to things like that, spiritual things like that.
Yes, 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 yes. And how is it down where you are? Was it hot down there? Was it hot where you are?
No, it's not cool. Well, it was kind of very mild, very comfortable weather here.
Mm.
It's Leeds, very comfortable weather in Leeds here.
Well, it
Um,
was very, what should I say, very warm, and the sun was out, and you can just, you wish there was a beach around or so that you could actually delve into. You know,
yeah.
uh, Gary, I was saying earlier that I spent some time last week having some good round of interviews with Joseph Patterson, who is the president of the United Independent Congress, and we were also on the place which is called College Green, where we
Uh,
had some interviews, and at the end of the interview, Gary, Big Ben just boing, 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 and he said, "Yes, that means to say we're doing the right thing." we, we we want a we don't want a fake republic or something like that. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
that's and and it's so interesting because at the end of this, the latter part of the show, we'll talk about some latest developments in Jamaica. So hang on to your hats and stay tuned. you know, yeah. But anyway, the UK, it's some I don't know. It's like there are news going around, but they're not like breaking. It's like there's a. Would you say there's a lull in the system? Not that you want news to create havoc. Is there a lull in the system like in the UK now? What do you think? Or have you seen something which is um, generating some news other than the fact that Russia is still going on there with what they're doing and Ukraine?
Well, I don't know if lull would be the word. I just think I sometimes wonder. We have touched on this area a few times over the past couple of weeks. And the point I want to bring across
Yes.
here is that the government seems to be finding so much money. I know money it can take many shapes, sizes, forms in whatever way, but the government seems to be finding money to be sending to Ukraine by way of arms and increase in
Mm.
military arms. But yet, when its very own citizens are crying out for increase in being able to live and survive, they're not able to find this money really, and it concerns me. That concerns me.
It's interesting you said that, and you talk about money, about government finding money, and it's like you have touched on to another topic, but it is all right because Mr. Zelensky flew into the UK to meet with Prime Minister, and it's somehow like they are going ahead with everything like engaging with the people. And I know many people actually somewhat maybe a bit annoyed because they see the government somewhat on as an unelected body at present, you know,
Mm,
and
mm.
and and uh, and because I think the prime minister is now in Japan as well on the quest for business for the
Yes,
country.
yes, yes. It's a G
Yeah,
eight. Isn't it G8 or G12 meeting or
yeah.
something like that?
I think it is. Is Russia in it? Is Russia in it as well? Russia should be in it.
Well,
Vetoed
I don't see
everything all
what.
the while.
Well, Russia wouldn't be involved in that. I mean, um, if in good times, yes, they would be there, but they're not. They're not there now because of the war in which they have waged against Europe, isn't it? Because the funny thing
Mm,
about it, I
mm.
don't know if anybody out there in your listenership has noticed or has read. But the thing about it is that there are U.S. boots on the ground in Ukraine. I don't know if you noticed that.
It's uh, well, U.S. boots has always been around in everything.
Yeah, but you see, even though it is billed, even though it is billed, it is highlighted, it is spoken of,
Mm,
it is commented that it's Ukraine, and even though you got countries like Germany, like Poland, like Netherlands, Holland, France. Um, you've got the UK, you've got Spain, Italy.
mm.
They're sending in military hardware, even though they're saying that it's
And it
Ukraine soldiers involved. And the funny thing about it too, still before you come in, is that if you listen
Yeah.
carefully, for example, like the Abraham tanks. I think Abraham tanks are it's a U.S. made tank, isn't it? I think I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but they say it takes at least, let me say, 12 to 18 months.
Mm.
I may have exaggerated a bit, but I'm just trying to draw a picture here. It takes 12 to 18 months to train an individual to drive and to operate these highly efficient tanks. Now, you're telling me that they are able to pull off, let's say, 3 men from the front lines in Ukraine to train for 18 months, a year and a half,
Mm.
to drive an Abraham tank, and it's not one Abraham tank that America
Yeah.
is delivering. It's quite a few. So I'm saying that it is not just Ukraine soldiers that is involved in this war. American soldiers, European soldiers are involved. Even it may be two, it may be four, it could be 10. But the point is, even if it's one, the US or the European forces, wherever they're from, is involved. So
Well,
this
one
is a
of the things,
European.
yeah. Well, one of the things that Russia says also, it is very disingenuous, isn't it? That all of them are ganging up, like all of them are ganging up on him. Putin says, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, he has a right to say what he wants. I mean, he can say that he has the intelligence that may be telling him the truth. But what the
Mm.
US or what the European or the Western forces are telling us, whatever he says, they will discredit everything he says. Even if
Mm.
it's the
Mm.
truth, they will discredit it. Why? Because they want the enemy to be discredited, not to be looking as
Yeah.
if, well, they're in favor of winning the war at all.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think the war is quite serious. Where we are really right now is a
yeah.
serious stage.
Well, yeah. Well, Gary, we have been saying this for a long time. From it, whole thing say it's gonna explode and blah blah blah. But that seemed not to happen, and it seemed like it's somewhat maybe whittling down now. I don't know. You see it expanding any further than what it is? Welcome to Rosemary on Instagram as well. You see it? You see it expanding in any way, Gary?
I think it's expanding already. I think it's expanded by the very fact,
Yeah.
still, that we've got
Mm.
European countries and the United States pouring in military aid into Ukraine. Is already expanded. We don't need to see it any further beyond the borders of Ukraine. Yes, because when it
Yes.
does, and I believe it will spill over. I believe it will. It may spill over into the former communist countries such as Poland or Lithuania or the Czech Republic or so. I believe it's going to spill. I believe it is.
Mm.
But but
Yeah.
you see, there's a play on semantics here, because if it haven't spilled over in that way, they will always say it's confined. It's within the borders of Ukraine. So it hasn't gone any
Yes.
further. But it has gone
Yeah.
further because the European countries are involved.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to move away from that. 'Cause and to look at some sort of breaking sort of issues which is going around, which sometimes we tend to overlook and we're maybe scared of talking about at times. And there's a breaking news which is out there whereby a man abducted and sexually assaulted a schoolgirl while dressed as a woman, Gary. While as a woman. You know?
I
And,
laugh
and, and
not because it was funny, and I shouldn't have laughed, but
yes.
you see, society and the leaders of our world who allow these things have just set themselves up, because
Mm,
it's the same thing like It's the same thing like there wasn't there a man? Wasn't there an individual who is a man?
When
He had therefore then changed
when
into a woman, but yet still
and
he can't participate in a sport as a woman because they will then deem that not fair because obviously he's going to win, isn't he?
yeah. Well, in this, what is happening is that, sometimes I think about this whole thing, like when the Caribbean people came over to the UK, and Caribbean people had to teach English people how to do a certain particular things. I believe sometimes that we have to stand our ground in certain areas, and that is not saying one is disrespectful of other persons, what they want to be or so, but you got to really stand your ground, because as it says, a man has admitted abducting a primary school girl while dressed as a woman before sexually assaulting her at his home in the Scottish borders. Andrew Miller, who is known as Amy George, offered to give the girl a lift home in February of this year. And there he is, Gary. There's a man, and there's a man. You know what I mean? The girl, according to the story, the girl was actually late night. She was on her way home, and she saw an elderly lady, give her a drop home, and the lady actually didn't take her to her home, but take her to her home, and held her and sexually assaulted her. And what happened, Gary, is just because and based on the story, it's only because the person fell asleep after sexually assaulting her, fell asleep, and then she called the police, and they came, right. And I believe this is something which is gonna happen more and more as we are having these things which are happening. It's a subject which many people don't want to touch on to, because people get cancelled for just touching on it. But the High Court in Edinburgh was told that the girl was only able to escape from the bedroom after Miller, Amy, Andrew, which one is it, Amy or Andrew Miller, fell asleep. You know, the court was told that Miller identified as a transgender and is in the process of transitioning to female, and he was found with taking off his bust and all those sort of things, because everything was silicone stuff which he had on him. And I think it is something that we've got to be careful about as much as possible, and we've got to protect women, because I believe in a way women are the one who is get women are attacking women now. you know and it's a serious thing. I mean, Gary, I mean, what would you do if in your field, if women come into your domain and wanting to be a woman?
I don't want to answer that.
You don't want to answer that. If being politically correct or something. But anyway,
No,
but it's in the
no, no,
paper, and people.
no. I'm just
Eh?
saying it's a serious situation. It's a
It is very
serious
serious.
situation. I
It
mean,
is very serious,
it,
Gary.
didn't it happen in America where a man who had transitioned into a woman was imprisoned in a woman's prison, but yet assaulted and pregnated two women in
Yeah,
prison.
exactly.
Now, I mean, what foolishness is going on? What
Mm.
rubbish! This is ludicrous, and and our leaders. My goodness, I tell you, is some of our leaders. I don't know what they're going to tell God. I really don't know what they're going to stand up and tell God.
Well, what it says, to whom so much is given, so much is required. To whom so much is given, so much is required. Now, which prison do you think he's in, Amy or Andrew? Which
Well,
prison?
it is said, it is being reported. Let me say, right, that when these people go into, they have to be kept by themselves because if they go into a man's prison, they are beaten. And if they're going to a woman,
Yes.
they can't place into a woman's prison because that's trouble right there again.
Yes.
So they're put into
Yeah.
prisons where they're sectioned with people like-minded. That is the
Well, well,
confusion that we
well,
have.
well. They are so very well. In one breath, the newspaper said Andrew Miller has pleaded guilty, but I find it also very interesting because they might have to give an apology because he's transitioning to become Amy. And now at the next one, they say Miller is being held in a male prison wing while waiting sentence in line with new guidelines for trans prisoners who commit sexual offenses that were introduced following an outcry over the Isla Bryson case. So I'm trying to say, so therefore, you got guidelines now. You got to watch this whole thing. Bryson was initially placed in a female prison. That's what you're talking about. After being convicted of raping two women, yeah, while she was known as a man called Adam Graham. Yes.
Mhm.
So therefore, what they're talking about, so there are methods and ways of how to do these things, and one has got to learn because you have to be careful. So that is something that I believe persons have got to be very conscious of with your family as well. Sending your, you can imagine, Gary, you go somewhere with your children. Okay, your children are a bit older now, but I go somewhere with my young daughter and she go into the bathroom. What I'm trying to say. And then you go in the bathroom, you see a big figure going in the bathroom. And you say, "Hang on a second, man. Man, gonna get confused." You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I mean it's issues like these that the main media people should be discussing.
Yes, yes,
But you see these big conglomerates that are around the place, they don't want to deal with issues like these because they'll be closed down. They'll be sectioned or they'll be fined or they'll be,
yeah,
you know, reprimanded. It's just this is a horrible situation. This world is our
yeah,
society is
yeah,
getting worse and worse, and
yeah,
they're cornering themselves
yeah.
to the
This is.
point that they
Mm,
won't be able
mm.
to get out of it.
I think a lot of people are getting confused, and lots of young people is going to get confused in the whole thing. And I believe people have to be standing up and and standing up for what they believe as much as possible. But anyway, let's move on quickly to a guy named Carrie McLean, Huddersfield, a teen jailed for life over schoolboy stabbing. And these things, it's very interesting that these things are still happening, but you may not have a spotlight on it as before, you know, but it is happening, whereby teens are being stabbed. And if you look at the young boy there, where is it? Carrie McLean. There is Huddersfield teen jailed for life over schoolboy stabbing. You know, Carrie McLean died after he was stabbed near North Huddersfield Trust School in September 2022. Okay, it's from 2022, but I think it is coming out just like how his case was from his stabbing in 2022 and it's coming out now. You're going to have some cases coming out in 2024, which happened in 2023. And what is it? Two teenage cousins who stabbed a 15-year-old boy to death as he walked home from school in West Yorkshire, being jailed for life. Right? Javon Harriet, J.K. Poosley, 15, murdered Carolyn after ambushing him outside North School just last year. You know, got these boys here, jail for life. You know, so therefore, these things are still happening. But what is not so sure of is the level of support that well, you're not. That's what I'm trying to say, Gary. You're not hearing much about it again of knife crimes. Yeah.
I mean, it's still happening. You see, just because we're not hearing about these things, Sylbourne, doesn't mean that it's any
Mm.
less. It doesn't mean it's any less. The police and the police and the security agencies that are in operation in our country, they will limit the amount of information that is being released. Things are happening, man. Things are taking place in our country, and you know the statement that I believe the mother made to some extent was, that the violence has to stop. Now, how is the violence to stop? How is the violence to stop? That's a question that I would really like for the authorities to answer, because I guarantee you that they don't know how to stop the violence. I'm not saying I have the answer, but what these agencies and the governmental agencies always seem to put out, and the politicians try to fob off, is throwing money at a particular area, throwing money here and there, um,
and hoping that it get resolved.
and hoping to get results.
Mm.
When you've got, I'm not saying that this is a solution, but when you've got governments that close down youth centers,
Yeah.
close down youth clubs, close down things that kept the minds of these young men, of these young girls occupied. When you've got certain activities being closed down because there's no money, yet money is being spent all over the place, sending arms. Obviously, listen, when a government sends a tank or an armored vehicle to a certain area of the world, yes, money has to be made available to replace that. So new equipment is being made, new bombs are being made, new missiles are being made. So the
Yes.
money
Yes.
is there. The money is there, but then they're not willing. There is an ulterior motive still.
Mm.
There is an ulterior motive to break down society, to bring it down to its knees. They can't tell me that it's that there is anything else. These politicians and people in power, they have a very nice way of saying that they want, they want safe communities, safe places.
So do you think then, in a sense, that and we're going to get onto this bit, that there's always money around, no matter what they say.
Money is there. No, I mean, truthfully, listen, money is there.
Mm.
I believe the finance is there, but
Mm.
the question is, or the point is, that there is that the powers that be, the the men in gray suits are
Yes.
there. We cannot pinpoint them, but the powers that be, they think that the money should be spent in other areas. When I say areas, you understand,
All
not places per se, but
right.
in other places, or for whatever they think is necessary.
All right. Let's move on quickly and look at, like, the train strikes in the UK, right? For argument's sake, new RMT walk out mean 3 strikes in 4 days. RMT members are to stage a first strike on 2nd of June in long-running dispute over pay, job, and pensions. Um, what do people say about this when they see money being thrown at countries like Ukraine, for argument's sake, and 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 people are still trying to find. Let me see. Let me stop that. I don't think that's it there. People are still striking to get money for their jobs. Yeah. Let me see. Where is it? Train strikes. Yeah, there it is. RMT members are to stage a first strike on 2nd of June. The strike will see 20,000 train managers, caterers, and station staff all walk off their jobs. There'll be 3 trail strike within 4 days, with ASLEF train drivers walking out on 31st of May, 3rd of June, the day of the FA Cup final. The government said the RMT had gone out of their way to make life difficult for thousands. You know, money. Everybody wanting money. And
but
you know what, one of the things that I was which was talking about was that everybody's wanting money, and then when you get more money into the system, the Bank of England governor is going to say there's too much money in the system, and when there's too much money in the system, it is going after products which may be even um, um, in a shorter there's not much of it, and then it creates inflation, and that's why the interest rate keep going up. But now the interest rate keep going up, and now they are questioning the bankers and the Bank of England governor to say that, hang on a second, just like how you increase interest rates so quickly, why don't you put it also on the banking, on savings as well? Yeah,
there, you see, I believe there's a plan to break the back of society.
you think so?
Oh yeah, I believe there's a plan. There's a plan to bring down the back, to break the back of the middle class,
And
because
you're
it
not.
is
Go on, sorry.
the middle class that is to some extent of feeding the 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 machinery of government.
Yes.
Okay, you've got the rich, but that's just a small section of the society, really. It's not the
Yes.
majority. Then you have the poor, which again is that's a big class, because
Yes.
you've got those who are not they're not making it at all. They're struggling. They're not doing well.
Mm.
So you've got a
Mm.
whole lot of them which spills out onto the streets, in a sense, because they're sleeping, as they would say, in cardboard city. That's where they are. But then
Yes.
you've got that the middle class, which is a large group. It may not be as large as those that's in cardboard city or in the lower class, but it
Mm.
certainly is not amongst the elite. They're the ones that are working. They're the ones that they're the ones that
That's all right.
keep
Mm.
the machinery of government going, in as much as the economy. They're the one that
Yes.
keep the economy going. So
Mm.
there's a plan to break the back of the middle class, because once the middle class is broken, anything that the elite seems that they want to happen or want, they'll then take it. There,
So
there's
so
going
so
to be
there,
chaos.
yeah.
There's going to be chaos in this place.
So therefore, what are you trying to say then? So what happens next after the back is broken?
Well, there's chaos because you've got a large amount of people, yes, in society that 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 they are demonstrating. They protest. Now look, just think and see what happened a few weeks ago. All
Yes.
right, it's quite telling, because
Yeah.
when there was going to be protest in central London, what did the police do? Which
Shut it
was
down.
quite strange.
They
There was
arrested
some
people. They arrested people before they even protesting,
ah ah
and then they apologized after.
there were law. They even said that there were laws that were passed. Now the thing about they're telling us
Yes.
that laws were passed that we never knew was being
Yes.
discussed in Parliament. There's a lot of laws, and the citizens of this country, my brothers and my
Yes.
sisters, all of us, we've got to understand, that there are laws that are being passed every day, that we would only know about them when we've broken them, and we don't even know that they exist. Because look what the police had. They knew they had that up the sleeve. Nobody else knew about it, but yet they arrested 6 people before they protested. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Sorry, keep talk. Yeah, yeah. And then what they did after they said sorry, but they achieved their objective, isn't it?
Yes, yes. You see, my friends out there in the bushes somewhere. You you better be be able to think for yourself because chaos is coming.
Mm,
The chaos is coming. The government knows what they're doing. We and there's a lot of us, a lot of me's around that don't move out of our homes. We don't go down to central London and show
yes.
placards and all that. We don't do that,
Yeah.
and probably we should because there are more of
Mm,
us
yeah.
than more of those who are trying to hold on to the reins of power.
What Stacey Thompson says here is that Mr. Graham got it down. He's so right. And someone on TikTok saying it's not public. It's not public police. It is political police now. It's not public
Yeah.
police. It is political police now. And and if we just even if we just switch a bit and just let that run a while ago. But even in Jamaica, which is something which I have to touch on, there's a massive outcry which is happening now, whereby it seems like there is a complete distance between the government and the people, because the government has now massively gave themselves gave themselves gave themselves up to 200 to 300% wage increase, Gary. So some people are now saying the best place to be and the best job to be is in government, where you don't have to worry about getting your salary increase. You can give it yourself. A guy just put a video out a while ago saying, money I run at Jamaica, money I run at Jamaica. He's going down to get he's even saying there's not even a need for the opposition leader to run for office, because he's gonna get so much money now. Just be opposition leader. And this is what you're talking about, whereby it seemed like there's a governments are saying to trying to do their things, and the people are actually saying what is happening. That is why I question something today by saying, who actually protects the people from the government? Who is a buffer between the people and the government? They come to you, they knock on your door, and they want you to vote for them. But once you're in, they stop becoming the employees, but that somehow they become the employers, when actually the people are really the employees. That is, if people understand that as well,
Mm, mm.
you know. And
I mean, I believe across the board, both in Jamaica as well as in the UK, as well as in Europe or in the US, we've got to understand that there is a plan. I'm quite strong on this. That there is a
mm,
plan.
afoot.
There's a move afoot, yes, to break the back of the middle class, those who are the ones that's paying taxes. Because you see, once we're broken, and it's not going to it won't be smooth going because there's going to be
Mm,
chaos on the streets.
mm,
There's going to be chaos on the streets, um, and and it's not something that I think that is nice to say, even though the government may want to, even though the government may want to, um, you know, say something different and
yeah.
try to um, what's the word? I can't, you know,
Yes.
appease. They
Yes.
want to appease um, the citizens,
Mm,
but they can't. For how long will they be able to hold
yeah.
back what's coming?
Yeah. Let's look at this figures here. What they say is that the finance minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, has announced increases in salaries for parliamentarians under the public sector compensation review. With the new rates, the prime minister's salary moves from 9.1 million to 22.3 million, while the opposition leader salary moves to 20 million from 8 million. These are Jamaican dollars, of course.
Well,
Noting
yeah,
that the Huh?
I think you have no. What I think you need to do, still,
Yeah.
is to compare the salaries to, let's say, what the UK salary is, because it's down to interest. It's down to currency rates.
All right. I don't have that one, but I can
And
actually I can show actually the Caribbean countries in Jamaican dollars, which is I think is a better comparison, Gary, than the UK in a way, but could be.
well,
But
I mean, I'm really saying, that,
yeah,
for instance, for argument's sake, it's let's say it's 100. Is it 118 to 118 Jamaican dollars to £1? So I'm
more
just
than that.
saying,
No,
for
no,
those who
that
are listening,
it's more than that, Gary.
is it 120?
I mean, it's supposed to be 190, Gary. Come on, man.
Okay. Well, no. What I'm saying is that those who are listening and those who don't
Yeah.
know the cost of living in Jamaica by way of the currency rates, 25, 22 million is a lot of money for the year. But if you take in consideration what it is to live in Jamaica, 22 million is only roughly about what? A million? No, yeah, 22
You
million
mean
is
in pounds? Are you talking in pounds?
22 million Jamaican dollars. Yes. If you convert that into pounds, is only about what? 40,000?
100,000. About
100.
100,000.
Okay.
I got it here. 22 million is 114,000 pounds.
Right. So how much is the British Prime Minister getting? Is it roughly about the same thing, or is it less? Because you've got to give that. I think you got to show that, because people who don't know Jamaica will think that is a lot of money, even though it is, but it's not to some extent. But it's a good wage. It's a good wage. I'm not saying that it's not a good wage.
Well, the
But
British Prime Minister's salary is 2022 is 164,000 pounds
okay.
and claim
So
159.
so compare that in pounds to the Jamaican Prime Minister is how much?
Well, it's one Jamaican is 120 something.
Right. So it's high, but it's still below what the Westerners are getting paid. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, but Gary, I think there's another sector we got here, and we got to be very careful, obviously, because in if we look at the Caribbean, we're looking at the Caribbean now. The Prime Minister of Jamaica is 25 million, which would be which you take it to be. Trinidad is 13 million. Bahamas is 13 million. Deputy Prime Minister is 22 million. Bahamas is 11 million.
Uh,
Minister of Finance is 21 million. Trinidad and Tobago is 9 million. Bahamas is 10 million. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I know they're high. I know it's
Gary,
high.
yeah,
But what I'm saying is
but Gary,
already.
yeah, but don't you think about the fact that while somebody just said a while ago, 160,000 plus they get expenses for other things, for food. All MPs and all these guys, they get their
Yes,
food.
I'm
Yeah,
not speaking. I'm not talking up. I'm not talking up for the MPs. I'm not
yeah,
supporting the MP salary. What I'm saying is that you're showing real figures, which is fine. I understand
yeah,
that. You're talking real figures. What I'm saying is that we here in the UK, because you know Jamaica, I know Jamaica, we know the standard of living and how expensive things are.
yes,
When you look at certain things like that, yes, you've got to, those who don't know Jamaica, those who don't know the cost it is, whereas others may not know the cost of living here in the UK. You've got to bring some relativity to it
yeah,
in order for them to understand the whole mix of things. So
yes,
I'm not trying to water down that what they're being paid is little and nothing. It's a
yeah,
lot of money, and when you think of those who live in Jamaica and they themselves are struggling to live, the MPs really should not be paying themselves that kind of money, because I
yeah.
think it's unfair even for them.
And also because of the fact that the nurses and different persons have been trying to get, well, teachers especially have been trying to get a certain amount of money, and they are being
Exactly.
told to restrain themselves. Uh, so I think that is what I think a lot of people have been saying. Yes, we agree that there need to be wage increase, salary increase across the board, but they believe that it was disingenuous for it to be done at a time like this when they're asking for persons to restrain themselves at the same time. Someone said to me, it is better to pay the 63 MPs more than 20 something thousand teachers. Someone even said to me as well that it is better to pay them good so they don't become very disingenuous or dishonest. And I'm saying, hang on a second. Everybody's trying to find some justification for that.
Mm,
Might as well you pay all the police then, pay everybody then, so nobody
yeah,
become disingenuous and dishonest. You know,
exactly. Exactly.
yeah. Compare Jamaica to UK. Jamaica is a beautiful place. But I think the key thing what a lot of people are talking about, and I was saying to myself, I was looking at it and say, so who is the buffer? Where is that sort of uh, group that should be able to make these recommendations instead of the government giving the recommendation for themselves? I'm having this lady here, Janet Calder, um, this Sunday night. Janet Calder this Sunday night, and she's from this organization called JAMP, and she talks a lot about things like, I'm going to see if I can find it. She talks a lot about things like Garry, uh, you know, accountability and transparency, and that is something that she's going to be talking about this Sunday night, and how people can actually get involved, especially with the whole work what we've been talking about regarding republic, Jamaica being a republic and all those sort of things. So she's going to come on, because what I sense is that uh people somewhat feel a bit left out and feel like they cannot do anything, but there are organizations that they can be a part of. And in my video this morning, I said that people should, our Jamaicans should actually know within themselves that they are actually the employers, not the employees. And the government is the employee. And and people should have a sense of feeling that they've got the power, but they somewhat feel disenfranchised. And when they see this, like what happened, and what I'm picking up from persons is like they got a slap in their face after they're being told to hold back. But yet, the government is trying to, as much as possible, to justify it. I'm going to try, and there's a video which I don't know if I can find the video, but there's a video which is very powerful where the this is trying to justify it into Dion Jackson Miller. You think it's justified, Gary? Can it be justified? Anybody think it's justified? Who
I
can
mean,
justify it?
I mean,
Let me see. D
anybody
says
can.
justified. D's clapping her hand. She says she's justified.
I mean, anybody can
Sorry,
justify
Gary.
anything.
Anybody can what?
Anybody can justify anything if they want, but that doesn't make it right.
Mm,
Doesn't it? Doesn't make it right. And I just think there's a lot of injustices that's going on in our world today that you can't justify.
mm. Let me see if I can play something here. If it can come up, sort of place it. Minister of Finance actually trying to justify what has happened there. Let me see if I can find it. No, it's not justified. Okay, D confirm it's not justified. I thought you were saying it's justified. Um, there it is. Can you see it? Can you see it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I can actually play it.
Can't hear anything. Still, I can't hear anything.
Oh, you couldn't hear. You can't hear anything.
No.
Okay, let me see. Let me see if I was put on my thing. Let me see. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear. I'm gonna try it. Give me a second.
Parliamentarians are now going to be getting and compare them to what
Can you
elsewhere in the
hear?
Caribbean is paying. So the Prime Minister
Not
of
very
Jamaica, for
clearly.
instance,
Yeah, so we know. I mean, we've done our homework.
Can you hear?
so you don't want me to share with the public.
Put parliamentarians and ministers
No, but
in
I-
Jamaica higher than any other
Which is why
country in the
you're
Caribbean
trying to
region.
stop me from
No,
sharing.
I'm not.
Okay, so
I am saying
let
to you,
me go
I'm
ahead.
familiar with it,
But
and I'm sharing it as well.
Okay, so you can't hear it. That's what you said, Gary.
I heard
Gary, could you
something.
hear?
I didn't hear the whole conversation. You have to play the whole thing again for me to hear and understand what they're saying.
Okay, but were you able to hear anything so I can just start it all over again?
Start. I did hear. I was hearing something, but start it again.
Asking, were you able to hear? D, can anybody hear? But did you hear them speaking? Did you hear them speaking, Gary? Or you hear
I did.
something? You say you hear something. Did you hear them speaking? You
Yes,
can't hear me.
I did. I
Okay,
did hear.
advocate. Okay, someone say it's low. Someone say it's low. Let me see if I can turn it up because it's very interesting to hear this. Um, okay, I'll turn it. Okay, I got it here. Okay, I'll turn it up. It should, you should hear this now. Let me see if it can work. 1, 2, 3.
We looked at the salaries that our parliamentarians are now going to be getting and compare them to what elsewhere in the Caribbean is paying. So the Prime Minister of Jamaica, for instance.
Yeah, so we know that these salaries, I mean, we've done our homework. So I don't know that these salaries.
You don't want me to share with the public.
Put parliamentarians and ministers
No, man,
in Jamaica higher than any other
You're trying to
region.
stop me from sharing.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so
I am saying
let
to you,
me go
I'm
ahead.
familiar with it,
But
and I'm sharing it as
viewers
well.
are not. So
Yeah,
let me go ahead
Go ahead.
very quickly. Prime Minister for Jamaica is going to be over 25 million. Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister is 13 million. Bahamas 13. Minister of Finance for Jamaica 21.7 million. Trinidad and Tobago 9 million. I'm quoting everything in Jamaican dollars. Bahamas 10.2 million. In Jamaica, Cabinet Minister will be at 20.2 million. Trinidad and Tobago 9 million. Bahamas 10.2, and an MP in Jamaica will be at 12.5, Trinidad and Tobago 3.8, Bahamas 4.3. How on earth do we justify these levels of salaries in a country that we're certainly doing far worse than Bahamas? And when you look at what is happening elsewhere in the region, there's absolutely no justification for this, surely.
Okay. So, again, first of all, Barbados, Trinidad, and Bahamas have not entered into a public sector restructuring. The way in which they have recovered from COVID has not put them in a position that they can add this amount to their wage bill to pay their public sectors. Jamaica is the only country in the region coming out of a pandemic that's been able to offer these levels of adjustments to its public service.
Why parliamentarians, given what we're seeing in terms of our level of development and our per capita income compared to those other countries?
Because of what we are going through, the experience that we have, Dion, we are unable to attract and retain the talent that we need to run the public bureaucracy. That is going to change in salaries alone will not fix it, but it will go a long way towards addressing that problem. Last year election,
we looked at the salaries that are.
All right.
I mean, I understand. I listen, Sil. I believe that yes, people must be able to be paid a good salary in order to maintain them. But throwing money, that level of money at people, it only fuels the hunger for more money. Because next year or the year after, more money is going to be placed on that. It's a vicious cycle. But I understand I understand, but then he says that within the public sector. Now, what happened to the teachers? What happened to the those who are working as nurses? What happened to those
Yes.
who who are the police officers? Can't we also, they work in the public, so why can't we give them the level of
Mm.
finance that is needed to keep them?
Yes.
They're not
Yes.
important.
Yes.
They're not
Yes. Yes.
important.
Well, as I said, money around at Jamaica, Gary. So if we try, let's go down to Jamaica. Cause money around at Jamaica. There's enough monies down there. You know, I'm trying to say, the government have all this money. But it is a very interesting developments, and a lot of people are incensed by it. And I can see what the as somebody said, I can see where the minister is coming from, where they need to get things pegged up and to move things. But for me personally, it's just the timing. The timing is sort of very insensitive and somewhat disingenuous at that time. And based on the videos which I put out there, I'm hearing what people are saying. I think I think the government is on its way out somehow. And as someone was saying, they're on the way out. So what they're doing is actually making sure that their pension is okay. Because even the governor general, I was shocked when I heard this. The governor general to earn 34 million in massive 300% salary hike. The governor general, Sir Patrick Allen, is set to receive an almost 300% increase in salary. That will move his publicly funded income to just over 34 million per year. The movement in the salary of the country's nominal head of state is in line with the substantial increase in the salary of the Chief Justice, Gary. And if somebody tried to thief a mango off next door, them lock up the person. Or something like that. 34 million. And that's why I really hope for this republic thing to be done properly and get the right republic in place.
But
And
it's
just
not
get
going to happen. Sylbourne is
yeah.
not going
You
to
don't
happen.
you don't think it's gonna you're gonna
No,
keep the king forever? Keep the king forever? Is that what you
no,
think?
no, no. What I'm saying is that whatever system of government they choose is not going to work.
And why is that, Gary?
If they can be there giving themselves 300% increase and or an increase from 8 million to 20 million and all of
Yes.
that kind of stuff, that type of injustice for themselves, what part of that do you see where they're going to then put a republic in place that's going to address the needs of the country?
So what they're trying to say, they want to make sure that it works for both of them, the both sides, PNP, JLP, and so like that, so they can
Okay.
keep the status quo.
The little man is
Mm.
of no is not in the equation at all. So
Yeah.
whether they keep this present system or they revert to a republic, it's not going to work, Sylbourne.
What somebody is saying on TikTok here is saying this government is a dictator. He does what he feels. That's what they're saying. Many people are saying the government is not. Even speaking to a university student, they're actually saying we're in a dictator zone whereby you have elective dictatorship.
Sylbourne, it's not only Jamaica. It's not
Mm,
only Jamaica. I mean,
mm,
look at other areas and other countries. The United States, it may be different, but the United States is the same way. The UK is the same thing. It's the same. It's the same kind of thing that's happening around the world.
mm.
It may not be seen as what's happening in China with
Yes.
Xi and with Putin in Russia and um, Lukashenko in Belarus, who are dictators in and of themselves. But it's happening, man. I think we've got to look at this thing and seriously, because there's going to be, listen, people are looking towards the universities. Back in the 60s, in the 50s and the 60s, where did the uprisings come from? It came from the universities, because that's where the minds are. And I believe, my friend Sylbourne, I believe, I believe that this generation, There's a generation that's coming in that's not going to put up with the things that we are talking about. They're
Mm.
not going to do it.
It's going to be a revolution.
I know, no, it's going to be a revolution of sorts, but it's not going to
Yeah,
be a revolution of what used to, or what
what used
happened
to
back
be.
then. Yeah, it's not going to. And I think we're in
Yeah.
for a rude awakening.
Yes, I believe that. I believe that there's a bubbling up in a sense because when I see sometime or hear like governments are making plans and they are totally somewhat out of touch with the people, and that's why I say to every Jamaican out there, if you're hearing my voice, is to place yourself in a position and get registered to vote, get on the electoral list. You know, may not you may not like the the other person or so, but at least get yourself in a position that you can have a voice as much as possible. Someone said, but those countries most of the time give proper dictation, at least have the country's best at some, at least have the country's best at some. Um, it is very interesting, and that's and I think everything is now linked in some respect with the whole debate for the right republic and even the republic issue. I was speaking to Professor Rosalie today, and was asking a question: is the persons who are actually the 14 who are presently in the process of shaping the constitution or shaping the whole process, are they public? Are we able to see them? Are we able to listen to them while they're making their deliberation? And that is not as yet, you know. And I know of groups which are being formed in a way to create their own sort of what should I say, alternative to the 14, because they believe also the 14 was appointed. Everybody's appointed as well. It's happening in UK, but at the same time, we see. As Stacey said, they're all in it together. And you say they want the people to be powerless. You know, uh, a teacher said to me that what they're trying to do is to frustrate people so they leave and leave the sorry to say what you said, but and leave the fully duns in Jamaica, and then the fully duns will be taken control of. You know, as well like that. But anyway, there's Gary. It's wonderful. I think we still have life and life abundantly. So therefore, yeah, we can we can take it from there. All right.
All right, boss.
Yeah. So, but Sunday, but definitely Saturday night talk and sip. We follow up on. I guess the whole this discussion will be about the wage increase. But Miss Jeanette Calder, I'll have her on this Sunday night at 9 p.m. We'll be talking about different ways of accountability and transparency in government. She deals with lots of those airway jump, and that's going to be this Sunday night at 9 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Jamaica time as well. And I will release also the interview that I did with Mr. Mr. Joseph Patterson, the leader of UIC, United Independence Party. I've had Mr. Joseph Patterson a few times live on the live stream, but it was good to be able to meet him and have that sit down with him in Westminster. And I believe it's very important to have more of these persons to have that conversation. And I believe, Gary, in a way, it is good to hear different voices, different perspective, different alternatives. There's one thing in court, when we are in court, there's always options. What is the options for the local authority? What is the option? Is it long-term fostering? Is it going to be adoption? Is it going to be rehabilitation? And you set these things out there, you know, and you make sure you have, you know, different ways how you can complete the process for in the interest of the child, you know, parallel planning as well. And in order for that to happen, you got to have different sides, different versions. Yep. Okay. Any last word?
Nothing at all, my friend. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. I
Yeah.
think I
Yeah.
think we've discussed a lot, and I
Yeah.
think that your listeners, they're intelligent enough to see and to know, what's out there. I just think that
Mm.
that the um I just think we've just got to be um astute enough, and also to be able to act
Mm.
on the things that we believe, and which should be in order for those in government, those who are leaders over us,
Yes.
to know that we mean business. I think we are too placid. Is that a word? I think we're too relaxed,
Yes.
and the only time we become mobilized is when it slaps us in the face and we don't like it. But then sometimes that's too late,
Yes.
because the
Yes.
signals are out there a long time telling us that things are not right.
So therefore, people have to be very proactive as much as possible.
Yes, we
Then.
need to, especially again, at some stage, not too long from now, it's going. Elections are coming up. We need to let our voices heard. We need to, even though we do say it doesn't make sense doing this, it don't make sense doing that, because they're still gonna go ahead and do it anyway. I agree with you on that, but at the
Yeah.
same time, if we don't do something where our voices can be heard,
Yes.
then we can't say that things ought to change, because we never really acted on the mechanism in which can
Yes.
help us.
Yes.
So that's
Just
it.
saying, someone on TikTok. Yes, I saw the salary rate, and I'll be talking about it briefly tonight, and we're talking about it on Saturday night, and talking about it on Sunday night as well. Yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight, and have a great one. And may God bless you. And remember to like and share. Thank you for those on TikTok, those on Instagram, those on Facebook, and those on YouTube. And remember to like and share. And also, you can always pick up and get the what's that? What am I doing there? Change that one. We want the right republic. That's a shirt which is going to be on sale there on the website. We want the right republic. Yep, we want the right republic, and that is King Charles is still a king, isn't it? Keep seeing his picture up there.
He's still the king, my brother. He's still
I heard something which was very interesting about Prince Harry and his wife were chased through New York for 2 hours. I know people are questioning that they were chased, but nobody saw them. and even the mayor said, chasing through New York, 2 hours. And we don't know about that. That must be some dopey chase star. I don't know.
leave Harry alone, man. I
No.
love Harry. I like Harry and Meghan. I just think that they're just being hard done for.
Yeah.
Because if Harry married an English girl,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
he would have been flying high. I just think because he married an individual whom he loved, then they're giving him a hard time, and I just think that it just shows. It just shows that what kind of society we are in.
Yes.
And I think we've got to stop fooling ourselves that the country is not this and the country is not that. No, the country is very much what you say it's not. Anyway, we need to finish.
Yes. No, that's interesting. Anyway, Garry, all the best, and good night.
Bless you, my friend. Bless you.
Bless you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night, and we're gonna wrap up again, and here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Let's go.